start with a bit of audience participation because I know people love this early in the morning. I wanted to get a show of hands. Who thinks brands are taking fewer risks in marketing today than 10 years ago? So maybe being too short-termist, following the data. Go on, stick your hand in the air. Okay, so I think we've got a pretty confident bunch here, actually. Okay. Anyway, for those of you who aren't sure, this panel is going to be all about the risks of playing it safe in marketing. And I'm hoping you can leave full of inspiration and with ideas about how to improve the work that you're doing in your own marketing departments. So I wanted to start by asking each of you about a time when you took a risk in your marketing recently. And Elizabeth, how about I start with you? When have you taken a risk?
Sure. I think the thing that comes to mind when you ask that question is when we made a decision to start our in-house agency On Brand.
Okay.
And let me tell you a little bit about it. When I slipped into the seat, there were about 6 people in the agency working on internal comms. And I really felt like those capabilities could be a significant differentiator. And fast forward to today, and we've got a 150-plus team, both based in New York and Atlanta. And you ask, why was it a risk? To sort of take it. If you think about it, the type of people investment that you have to make to be committed to something like that, and you're actually showcasing to your internal clients that you can do amazing quality work, that you're going to deliver on a promise of quicker speed to market with cost efficiencies as well. And so for me, it was convincing those internal clients that this was a differentiator in terms of having those teams of brand insiders who could deliver on that promise. Beam forward, and we've done it. I think one campaign at a time, one client at a time, in terms of making a difference.
And by clients, you mean the C-suite?
Yes, across the board. And I think for us, it was really a focus on leveling up the standard of creative excellence while delivering on that promise of speed to market and efficiency.
And I imagine that they have relationships with your external agencies too, right?
Yeah.
And those that you had to say goodbye to. Was that part of the persuasion?
Well, it absolutely is, but I think we've come to a formula that I think is the right one for us in terms of a nice mix of those external agencies as well as on brand. And I think those perspectives, both internal and external, are really important to have great work.
Yeah, to keep you on your kind of creative toes, I guess.
Exactly.
And Fabiola, how about yourself? A risk that you took as a marketer recently?
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Well, we've been in this reinvigoration journey, and I don't know if you heard about Cat's Eye, Better in Denim.
Yeah.
We took a big risk. It's only been 10, 11 months since we launched it, and it feels like it was 5 years ago. We're leading with this brand that is an iconic American brand, and when you have so much to honor and to respect the brand codes and the brand values and the DNA of the brand, everything is at risk, right? Because the brand has been resting for a little bit before that, and we needed to make sure that we get the opportunity to reconnect with people, but recruit Gen Z. That was very, very intentional. And I think we did it. We broke the internet a little bit for the first few days of the campaign, but it was more importantly to us to make sure that we have a point of view. We drove distinction. We show authentically gap, and in a modern way.
And what was the risk element of that? How were you feeling at the time, like the day before the launch?
I think it was before then when we were shooting them. It's a lot of skin, different genre, new talent. They were not famous yet. When we actually showcased them, they were out of the academy. It was betting in talent, betting on a different point of view. When we were on set, I told my team, I feel like this is going to be the best one yet, because it felt so different, but it was risk at everything. the outfits, the genre, the talent, the point of view itself. And we launch a 2-minute content out there. So it was everything around every marketing lever was a risk.
Now, Manu, I wondered if you could take us back to, I'm guessing this would have been 2022, and you're with your CEO, I imagine. I'm just creating this scene. So you're with your CEO, and you're like, right, we're buying a Super Bowl ad. Not one of the big ones. It's just going to be 5 seconds. We're cool with that. But it's just going to feature our owl farting out his own head.
Yes.
How did that go down?
It was very weird. But I think we proved that our content-first strategy over the years on social media really has paid off for the business, and we're able to build a brand that really stood out. And what we said is, okay, we don't want to spend crazy money on Super Bowl. We're going to do a local buy across different DMAs in the US, and we could only afford 5 seconds. And the idea was,
how much was 5 seconds in a local buy?
We paid $700,000.
Okay, and so by contrast, it would be like what, 8 million now? Is it for 30
Probably,
seconds international?
Yeah. So it was we produced that internally, and I mean, we said, okay, well, if we only have 5 seconds, how can we make those 5 seconds as impactful as we can? And because we know we're very good at creating content for social media, we take that same approach, brought the owl to TV to fart its own face and say, do your Duolingo.
Was that your idea? Was it like, do you workshop a fart?
Yeah, we did. We actually had someone practicing farting with his armpit for a week to actually get the sound right. Yeah. And then that's how we actually came up with the sound.
And is he really good at it now, this person?
He's excellent at it.
Just brings it out of all the parties.
This is trademark sound now.
Changing gear a little bit, we're talking about risks here. And I wonder what goes into scenario planning nowadays as a marketer. Like, you don't need me to tell you that we're living in very volatile times, things are changing, you've got the speed of AI, you have economic uncertainty. What does scenario planning kind of look like at each of your brands right now? Fabiola, how about I kind of start with you? Because I guess in retail too, like, you're constantly watching things changing across the seasons. Is it like an A plan and a B plan, or a C plan and a D plan and an E plan? Like, how does it work?
In product, we do. In marketing, we don't. It's just that we have plan A, and that's it. So we need to make sure that, I think in the media buy we do. On the creative side, we don't. We want to be bold. We have a point of view. If it doesn't work, if the audience is not voting for us, we will learn from it, and we will apply it for the next production, next campaign, next initiative, next collaboration. But that's who we are. So we do a lot of creative planning, but the scenarios is always one scenario that we go and we bet on.
Is that unusual amongst the peer set, Elizabeth? Is that, or is that becoming more of the way?
So when I think about our plans for the year, the customer's at the center of it. And if needs are changing, then we're going to adapt to those changes. But at the center, our customers' passions are ones that you would imagine from a dining, from a travel, from a music, from an entertainment perspective. And we're going to find where they are in those channels, in those high-intention environments. And when you focus on the customer, the outcomes are usually the right ones at the end of the day.
But I guess because I'm thinking you've put experiences at the heart of your strategy, right?
That's absolutely
live, things that people can feel and see. But those can change. A weather event can change things.
You're absolutely right, but sort of at the core, we have a playbook. It's a consistent playbook, not only in terms of that experience, but we're thinking about the pain points that a customer may have. So a fast entry into an arena, as an example, access to those tickets that you can't get, or discounts from a concession perspective, that end-to-end journey. We also think about the customer traveling there or the dining experience that they want. So I think that's what's unique and differentiated for us, the ability to kind of think about that end-to-end journey, as well as we're thinking about journeys in real life, but also on the couch as well. And both of those are important as we plan things.
And at Duolingo, you're quite kind of reactive to social trends. You're creating some yourself, but you're also kind of diving in, getting sort of salty in the comments and things. Is that like a planned thing? Is that trusting your team? Like, how does that work?
That's the DNA of the company. Our business is a retention business, right? So for us, it's about ensuring that people come across our brand every day, regardless of the platform, regardless of the channel. And that's our goal, is every day creating something that people will care about, that will motivate them to do their lesson. And we approach marketing the same way that our product team approach product, which is A/B testing all the time, launching new things, understanding what works, reacting to culture, seeing an opportunity, and being very, very, very fast. And so our strategy is more, the planning of it is more the way we do it, right? Versus big moments that are way ahead of us. It happens sometimes, like Super Bowl, for example, this year with Bad Bunny. That was an opportunity for us. We planned that in advance. But the day-to-day is extremely built around this A/B testing of everything, because channels change so much, algorithms change so much. You can't expect the same thing tomorrow as it was yesterday. So you always have to experiment and iterate.
And with those algorithms, I think a lot of people in this room will probably agree that like the era of the big kind of hero film that you run for 3 months is sort of largely over. And a lot of the stuff now, because audiences are fragmented, it's difficult to reach a big viewership other than Super Bowl and some live sports. So you've got to do more things to cut through. And I'm wondering, perhaps with Fabi, we can begin. How, in such a fragmented world, how does that shift as a marketer how you plan that real cut through? Cat's Eye being like one of your standout moments this year. How do you make sure that gets through on all these different channels, but be it TikTok, be it the live experience, be it in store?
Absolutely, and thank you. And I agree with both of you, consumer first, being agile, and really making sure you develop content for the platform. Cat's Eye was developed for TikTok, was produced and designed and briefed for TikTok content. So our strongest piece was a 60-second.
So it would have been TV back in the day, right?
Yeah, maybe. yes, for sure. But right now, we did it for TikTok. And that was the biggest performer at TikTok. Young Miko, our spring campaign, was designed for YouTube. So because it was a 3-minute piece of content. But even that, we create 15s and 6s and 30s and everything according to the platform. And we try to bring something new and some cuts and edits and everything. We create content for our retail experiences as well. And it is important to make sure that because it's consumer first, it's audience first, we actually produce and edit the content according to the platform. And so far, it has been performing better when you think platform first, and you shoot it accordingly to that. We shoot it in different formats because of where it's going to live, instead of shoot it, produce it, and then adapt it.
So you won't just do a vertical video and then sort of awkwardly try to cut it kind of thing. You're thinking about how that audience behaves.
We shot vertical.
Mm-hmm.
We shot vertical and we shot a horizontal. So it takes you a little longer in production, but we do both. Yeah.
And Elizabeth, everyone's feed looks different nowadays. As I said before, there's not this mass media moment. How are you in that time when everything is so personalized? How do you make sure that like the big idea is still cutting through and the big memorable idea?
No, you're absolutely right. We all know this already, but the average U.S. consumer is on 11 video services. And so that's, from a linear, a streaming, a social perspective. And I think what I am really proud of in terms of our team is that they see that media fragmentation not as a negative, but as an opportunity to kind of meet customers, where they are. And I know you're asking about that big idea. What I think has been so special, again, and I'm going to focus on the team, is just the fact that we've been able to use, I think, media and those channels as a competitive differentiator. And the team has that deep kind of horizontal expertise that's really important to get that creative thread, that creative idea that you're talking about moving through all of those channels. But they also have that sort of vertical knowledge to make it special, to make it unique, to make it sort of personalized. We work hard at it, and I see this as a competitive advantage for us in terms of the way we've taken a single creative idea and sort of pulled it all the way through.
And there is a danger, while it's important to kind of create content with the platform in mind, there can sometimes be a danger in optimizing too much for the algorithm. One, because the algorithm changes and suddenly the thing that used to be popular yesterday is not, and you spent 6 months shooting it and now you need to rethink. But also because sometimes you need to kind of keep pushing the boundaries. And I know that's something that you've spoken about before, Manu, and you're kind of rethinking that edgier side of your brand.
Yes, I mean, when it comes to our brand, we became known for the very unhinged. And we have that opportunity because our product is so wholesome, and what we offer to the world is free education, right? So it's so genuine and so altruistic that we can take more risks in our marketing. But I think there is also the risk of, trying to always go and chase the next big viral moment by increasing the shock factor. And I think we are, we've become known for, for people to expect the unexpected from us. But when the unexpected becomes too serialized, or, we have to reinvent basically our playbook. And so we're doing a lot of work in this direction. I think what's interesting with Duolingo is we're very well known for short form content, so TikTok, etc. We're actually moving more towards long form content. So long form YouTube, etc., where we can actually develop character stories differently. So we launched, for example, our first Duolingo anime series in November, and we saw this worked extremely well because we were able to give a different side of our brand. We were able to push the character narratives in different spaces, and we see, retention on long form videos on YouTube versus those short spikes that you see on TikTok and other platforms. So it allows us to nurture engagement with an audience and give them an opportunity to come back to watch different episodes at a time. So we're really excited about these type of strategies, right? And that's very much about diversifying how we reach people and how we appear in content and the stories that we can tell through those different mediums.
I think the thing I'm hearing from all of you is you kind of constantly have to adapt as a marketer.
Yes.
One thing I wanted to get a status update on today was brand safety. I feel that I've been coming to Cannes for years, and I remember those years when the CMOs were thumping their chests and they were holding brands' feet to the fire about content moderation and content adjacency. That's not happening as much anymore. That could be a symbol that the problem's gone away, or it could be a symbol that people are rethinking in the marketing industry what brand safety sort of means to them and how comfortable they are with sometimes letting the reins go a little bit. Elizabeth, you work in a very highly regulated industry, so you probably have to think about this more than anybody else on the panel.
Yeah,
how's your thinking about brand safety sort of evolved over the years?
Yeah, I think you're right. There is an evolution. If you think about the beginning of sort of digital advertising and had to think about media capabilities and even the skill sets that your team had in order to create and sort of execute on work. But we're a iconic 175-year plus brand, and so against the backdrop of all of that changing, you have to think about how you're going to keep those consistent global standards. And that's what we're focused on. And you have to think about it in terms of the modernization of all the platforms that you're sort of referencing. And I think our jobs have gotten easier with more automated controls, sort of across the board to make sure that you're level set in terms of those consistent standards. And then what we think about are two things very clearly, just like brand suitability in those environments, And we're constantly looking for premium, high-attention environments where our customers are. They have those passions that I talked about in terms of dining and travel, music, entertainment. We need to be there, for them in all different environments, moments, and that's what we've worked hard on.
Are there any sort of new environments that you're in now that perhaps you were sort of observing but not ready to dip your toe in a few years ago?
I think in particular when you look at our sports ecosystem, the fact that we are now partners with sort of 50 teams and leagues, and you have to think about this fandom in a very different way now. So when you ask that question, I think about it from a creator perspective, from an influencer perspective, and that's where sort of we've leaned in. Because so many of our Gen Zers are super fans, and they want that behind-the-scenes story of sort of what's going on, and we're trying to deliver it. We just launched the story of my song with Olivia Rodrigo last week with her honeybee story, and what's been so special about that is that you get to just see or hear in that long-form content that I think is actually much more meaningful in terms of telling her story and our story together.
Because you're creating entertainment, you're not just broadcasting an ad.
That's exactly right.
And Fabi, where does kind of brand safety sit on your kind of marketing hierarchy of needs right now?
I think often as marketers, we get confused with brand safety and brand codes. I think for us is following the brand codes is the most important thing, to be authentic, distinctive, emotionally differently. And brand safety for us is not what we're looking for. Is more be authentic to who you are, who we are, but it's the era of disruption in the universe and the field of play that you own. And it is important for a brand like Gap, be democratic, be inclusive, it's about self-expression. If you use the terminology on brand safety, you may go, you just may close yourself to opportunities. And I think this is the era where Gen Z is asking you for more, millennials is asking you for, are asking you for something new and different. And Gen X are saying, take me back to the things that I love. So it's important to really make sure that you don't get distracted to brand safety versus following your DNA, your brand codes.
Does AI kind of add a new element here? I'm seeing a lot of synthetic content on my feeds right now. It's easier than ever to kind of replicate what brands are doing. Clippers, it's kind of hard to tell what's real and what isn't, and who's behind a certain piece of content. Does that kind of factor in how you're thinking, Manu, at Duolingo, and this new AI era and what that means for how your brands show up?
Not really. I think for us, back to your point around authenticity and giving people what they expect from us, our tone, our sense of humor, to me is what makes the content genuine. And so, when they look at content, they know what is coming from Duolingo. They understand the craft that goes into this, and we have very talented animators and illustrators in the company, and they create content with us all the time. So we really try to bring that craft as a differentiator. That's why we really focus on that to build our brand. But I think ultimately the authenticity of our content, people knowing our brand, knowing our sense of humor is what matters the most for people to see when a piece of content is genuine versus part of this ecosystem of AI-generated content everywhere.
We've only got a couple of minutes left, so I wanted to shift gears again. I wanted to talk about what hiring looks like for CMOs in 2026. Are you hiring for kind of new types of skills, new types of people than you were, say, 5 years ago? Perhaps I'll start with you, Fabi. I'm kind of interested in what you're looking for right now in building your marketing department.
When you're talking about our internal hiring?
Our internal hires, yeah.
I always said that, it sounds like an old way to recruit, but it's hungry, passionate, curious, and love the brand. I think is if you don't have an affinity to the brand that you're going to be working with, like why are you actually applying? And then it sounds very, I would say basic, but it hasn't changed for me. It's just with the new generations, you really need to spark curiosity, but brand affinity is important because they don't last in their jobs so long. So if they love the brand, if they love what they do, if they're really eager to be part of it because they love what they've seen about your brand, and whether it's content because it's marketing, whether it's business, product, retail, they have to love the brand and feel affinity.
But AI is creating kind of a lot of angst about, say, early career marketers. Does that factor in, Elizabeth, when you're thinking about, and also internal training too, right?
Yeah. We're very focused on just kind of democratizing those capabilities and that learning path that you're talking about, and been very focused on understanding those capabilities. But I think even more importantly than that is just to be able to lead the change. And so when you ask about what are the profiles or skill sets of the marketer of the future, I think a lot of this is going to be around the ability to be a keen change agent and lead others through this. And in addition, I think particularly for a brand like American Express, I'm really looking for that really high standard of creativity. I think that's what's going to differentiate us. I mean, we're all going to have access to the same capabilities at, sort of at the end of the day. So for me, it's that high standard of creative excellence, a great mixture of sort of generalist and specialist, to sort of help us through. And those that are curious, you mentioned before, those change agents, I think that's going to be incredibly important. And to make sure that you are showcasing use cases, training, learning from each other, and creating that strong, engaged community.
Absolutely. To end, I want to do a very quick fire round. So I'm going to run down the line. 2 questions. So first question, what's one trend the CMO community needs to be talking less about at Cannes? Start with you, Manu.
AI.
You beat me. I agree.
You can say the same thing.
I agree, AI.
I'm not going to do the one word. When you ask me that question, I just want to make sure that we're thinking about marketing plans not as distribution plans. It's about that sort of single creative idea that can wow the customer. So that's where you need to lean in.
Okay, and one trend that we need to be talking more about.
One trend. Oh my God, you got me out.
What should I be reporting on? What should I be digging into?
I think being more agile. I think agility in marketing is so important these days to really make sure that you pivot. You talk a little bit about it. Being agile in marketing, and especially at the higher level, I think sometimes we forget, we become bureaucratic. We have to make decisions fast. And it's not necessarily a trend, but it's something that we need to remember. How do you empower and enable your younger teams, but really following the strategy, the playbook, the things that we need to do, and making sure that we become agile marketers, because our audiences, our fandoms, our brand lovers, they demand now this agility and really eating content at the speed of culture.
I'm afraid that really is all we have time for. If we could give a big hand to our fabulous panel of innovative CMOs. Thank you so much.